Hello, everyone, and welcome to another review. I hope you're doing great wherever you are. And today, although it is a review, it's a bit of a different kind of a structured video. It's gonna be more of an essay or a discussion. I do want to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comments as well about this thing, because I want to open the conversation about this earbud over here. And if you don't, by some magical reason, don't know this earbud, it's the Apple EarPods. And as a matter of fact, let me show you the packaging. This is the packaging that it comes with. It's very minimal. And yeah, as you can see, this is a sealed one, which shows I have a couple of spare ones of these things, like a couple, like 3, 4 ones, as a backup device. So, and that shows that I use these things a lot. And that is part of the conversation that I'm gonna have with you later on. But for now, yeah, we have that. We had the introduction. This is Apple EarPods, and you all know these things. And for the longest time, I was struggling with this idea that if I should make a review about these things, and for longest time, again, this it sounded so ridiculous and kind of an absurd idea if I should even make a video about this thing and review it. And then I thought to myself, and I questioned it. I was like, why is it such a ridiculous idea to review this thing? Isn't this a competitive sound? Yes, it is. Isn't this a good priced value earbud? Yes, it is. Is it not highly accessible? Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, it's way more accessible than every other earbud that I reviewed, and it's out there. You can get it more easily wherever you are in the world. So, why is it so absurd to review this item? And I think part of that reason is because of its success and its own fame. And like this thing has been so famous and successful for decades. Okay, it had different generations, it has many different variations. Sorry. And it's been so successful. It's so successful globally that it has been kind of synonymous for the word earbud. A lot of people don't know what to call these things, including myself. I didn't know like they called Apple EarPods. It was like Apple earbuds, wired AirPods. Like people call these things like many different names. And for a lot of people, the word earbud or wired earbud, when they think of it, a lot of common people, that's the first thing they remember, the image that they have in their minds, especially the younger generation, is this thing over here. And I think that's part of the reason that it's so absurd to review these things because of the ambition. Like this device for a lot of audiophiles out there too, like a lot of people who take this audio thing seriously, like kind of get passed over this thing because this is a device that has been in our lives for such a long time, and it's like one of those first things, and doesn't give you the idea of a high quality sound, although it is, and you don't ever think about it twice. For a lot of us out there, including myself, this has been like a device that I used to keep as a backup, like in my backpack or my desk, like whenever my main device, my headphone or my other like IEMs or earbuds broke, I would use this thing. Or whenever I didn't want to like plug in anything special, I was on the go, I wanted to make a phone call, I was outside, wanted to make a phone call, I wanted to hear it better, I wanted to hear some quick music or listen to some voice, like quickly pop this in, plug it in, give it a listen. And it has served its purpose as that. And every time I needed this thing, it has like it's done its job very well. And that's why it has like kind of faded into the background. We don't take this thing seriously because it doesn't want to even be taken seriously a lot. But I think it's a way more competitive and powerful device, serious device than it is treated. And it's kind of become this like a victim of its own fame. And like we could talk about like the history of this thing. It's kind of like fascinating device. But for a lot of us out there, this is a kind of the bare minimum device in this like the lowest price range that gives you good sound quality, and we don't appreciate that. This has been so successful. Like there's a million other like Chinese knockoff brands try to copy this exact style, but they can never get the sound like this thing does. And if you just blind test these things and give it a listen, you realize that yeah, if you put that prejudgment about these devices aside, this thing actually has pretty decent and comparable sound, and it's excellent. So And I would love to I'd like to shift the conversation towards that and talk about why this thing has been so successful as it has been. And that shows like part of the success is that it's become so relevant to our lives and such a casual item that you don't think about it twice. And I think that's a great thing. Just like in technology and in everything else, like with government and with parenting, the best case that could happen, the best kind of government and the best kind of technology is the kind that fades into the background. Doesn't give you headaches, doesn't make you think about it twice. It's just there to serve its purpose, and you forget that it exists, and it fades into your background, fades into your life, becomes a tool, becomes a part of your lifestyle, and it's become so consistent and reliable that you don't think about it twice. And I think this shows how great this thing has been, as a lot of technology has been in our lives. It just comes in and faded into our lives, and it's so reliable and doesn't make you think twice about it. And I think that's a sign of success. That's something that doesn't make you think twice. And this has been one of those things. And I would like to talk about why it has been so successful. And I think it comes down to two main points. First point being of its accessibility and comfort. And look, we've talked about the accessibility in these things. And this has been globally like one of the most universally accessible earbuds and like audio devices out there. I don't know the actual stats about this thing, but I'm pretty sure this has been like one of the top sold, if not the most top sold, top five of most top sold like audio device in any category globally during all time, right? I do believe that. I don't have any stats, but I do believe if it's not even top five, it's definitely top 10 of like the most sold devices worldwide. I mean that says a lot, and I love to like mention, and it's been so successful that this DNA, you might not realize this DNA of sound signature and the work that this thing has done, quietly passed around to your AirPods and your AirPod Pros. And if those devices just Apple just comes out with a new category of audio product and it sounds so good, and it's like improves and sounds great, and makes you think that it just gives you the idea of like that they just can do it easily. It's not making a good sounding audio product. It's not easy, and that's because in the background this thing have given the backbone and the DNA of those devices. Silently, this has been like the inspiration behind those sounds, and that you don't yeah that you take it for granted. And low key, I love that low key Apple is selling the most sold audio products in the world, right? AirPods and these things, and like you would never think when you think of Apple, you don't think of something that it's an audio company, right? But low key, they have the most sold like audio devices generally in the world of all time, probably. I don't know the stats, but it has to be one of the tops. Nevertheless, I was saying the part of the success is accessibility. And I talked about the accessibility. It's always been able to found they used to give these things like for free in your iPhone cases and your old iPods. It was a different generation at that time. But yeah, they used to give it out for free at those times. It's still being produced, and you can buy them new. They're being produced. That's like crazy. It's very old too. And for a lot of us out there, universally, this has been like for people all around the globe, everywhere you are. Most most like most countries have this thing, like to be like easily accessible, and they can get this thing, and it's because of the cheapest ones. For a lot of people, this is the audio quality that they get out there. So, nevertheless, and the other part of that equation is the comfort in these things. So, like I've had like from myself, hearing from myself, and a lot of people out there that they say the best like reason that they use these things. A lot of audiophiles and a lot of people like myself out there that has like much higher like quality or much more expensive, better sounding devices, they still get a use out of this thing. It's part of their rotation, and it is part of mine too. And a part of that reason is because of the comfort on these things. And all earbuds are very more comfortable than everything else, headphones and even IEMs. It's the most comfortable category of audio devices, the earbuds. And even between earbuds, this thing is one of the most comfortable ones. And that's because of these shells that are like super light, because of this plastic build. It's still durable, but it is super light and super small shell. And let me show you, like, this is another, like, a regular earbud. We can see, like, the shells here is much smaller, like the stems too. Yeah, and also, like, the cable is, like, although it is very thin and light, the whole package is so light. And it's just so thin, but still, it's one of the best quality wires out there. It feels very nice to the touch, and it feels very durable. Like, you can treat this very badly. You could throw this around, and it's gonna be durable, and it's gonna give you a lot of time. This has been very durable for me too. I use these devices every day, almost every day, and they go on average around a year and a half. As a matter of fact, like, my last two sets didn't even break. The cable oxidized and the sound signature changed, and that's why I couldn't use them anymore. But yeah, these things are very durable, very comfortable. A lot of people, like, wear these things to sleep. I've heard, like, a lot of other audiophiles say that, like, they use this thing only because of its comfort. It's just unmatched, and I have to agree with it. It is pretty comfortable. It's pretty darn comfortable. All right, and the last point of the success about this thing is the sound signature over here. And I thought about, like, the sound signature. How am I going to describe this to you? And I'm just going to say that it is the overall sound signature. It's so unique. It's a mid-centric sound. I don't know what you can call this kind of sound. It's very, very unique. And I could call it like a mid-centric, mid-focused, vocal forward, I don't know, natural. All those terms could work. And I think, to me, I'm just gonna call it like a mid-centric sound. And I think that's explained this thing the best. And the only, like, comparable, like, comparison that I can pull out here is it's in the headphones. And if you're familiar with the Sennheiser HD6 series, like 600 and 650, again, same thing with these things. Those headphones are very old, and not very old, but they are old devices. And they have been, like, a very consistently good sound during the times. And the thing about those things are that they are not the best, like, performing sound out there. They don't have the best staging or imaging. They're not doing anything excellent or stellar. They don't have much of bass or treble. But they have one thing going for them, and that is the mids quality on those sets. And that is so unique, and it has this delicious and ethereal sound to it. And it's because of its timbre. And the way you can achieve that tuning, I mean, I don't say that this thing has the exact same sound signature as those things, but it's like one of those relatives of the sound signature. It's a general similar sound signature between this thing and those devices. The quality, the timbre, it's very good in the mids, and it's just shines. The bass here is non-existent almost. I mean, there's no sub bass, nothing. There's some mid bass, and you can hear if your music has bass in it. If you listen for it, there is a mids. It's present in your it's present in your mix, but it's never grabbing your attention. It's just there, and you have to really listen for it to see it. Same thing with the treble. It's not giving you special details or airy quality presence in your sound, but it is there, and it's doing its job to giving you average, respectable, decent sound in the treble and the bass. Um, but all of those tunings, all of those parts, everything about this tuning is here to serve one purpose, and is to serve and complement the mids and to bring those forward. And if you don't know what the mid-centric sound is, usually it has a, like, a, I don't know, if I can talk about the frequency response graph, but I'm not gonna mention that. I'm just gonna say that this thing, usually mid-centric IM or device, has a more vocal forward sound. If there's, like, a basic mid sound in your music, like the vocals and the singing, or like there's the main lead guitar part in your music, or like in your jazz you have your trumpet or your saxophone that's gonna be driving the main melody part of your music. That's usually the mids, and the mid-centric, mid-focused sound like this thing, it's just right there. It's the most forward and prominent part of your music, and everything else is in the background to complement this part, especially on this set, right? And about that, yeah, I would have to say, like, the mid quality that you're getting here, it's almost unrivaled. Like I have, again, like a lot of people, and I'm not alone on this thing. I know a lot of people that they have said the same thing too. Not a lot, but some other people I've heard the same. I've heard them say the same thing. And like you, kind of, I have a lot of other expensive devices in other categories, but I just keep coming back to these things. And there is a reason. Yeah, part of it is the comfort, and part of it is that the quality. There is a unique quality about the mids and the sound signature that this thing gives over here. When I'm in certain moods and certain situations and certain music, and in all certain kinds of parts, this thing occupies a section of my rotation and my music listening. And as a matter of fact, let me explain to you. Like when I go out on walks, I take this thing with me. Usually, not every time, but a lot of times I take this thing with me. First, it's very comfortable and it has this controls that I love, like this controls, play, pause, and the music. It's very light, and this because of the sound mostly though. And the sound here, because as I said, there's not a lot of bass and there's not a lot of treble. It's just the mids, and I love to listen to this thing. And I think these are the good strength of this earbuds have been for me is that I can hear listen to this thing with low volumes. And when I like go on walks and I want like even when I'm going out like with friends and talking to them, I have these things in my ear, and I can easily talk to them and lower the volume here and have the music play in the background, and this doesn't interfere with the uh, conversation that I'm having, or with my thoughts, or with like the surroundings that I have. And it's giving this like a background nice sound to my surroundings. It's a kind of it's an enjoyable experience. Maybe you should give it a try. Maybe you'll like it. But yeah, that's for, like that specific use that I have, and I love these things. For that, this is like the best thing. Part of that reason is because like there's a lot of noise outside. Like for example, cars passing by, a lot of noise outside, and a lot of the noise outside is in the bass. And especially with cars passing by, that's really like motorcycles, really annoying sound. I hate it. And a lot of other devices that I have. Let me bring you over here. Sorry, give you an example. Like these things have a lot of bass, and I love the sound in these things. And when I go outside, like I used to this thing, I hear it's all fine. And when I'm like walking, it's not crowded, nothing busy, not a lot of noise around. This thing gives a lot of good sound. There's a lot of good bass. It's very enjoyable. But then like cars passes by, and because of the sound of the car, it gets mixed with the bass over here. It's really annoying, and there's a lot of it interferes. The sound of the surrounding interferes with my music, and even when it's not, it has to be really really silent. Not really, but it has to be kind of not noisy to be for this to be enjoyable. And you kind of want to crank it up when it's something's bassy and it's giving you that enjoyment. But this thing is not doing that, right? This thing is completely different. It doesn't have a bass, but it's just having that melodic sound being played with a good quality of it, great timbre. And for that purpose, this thing is excellent. And since I brought up this comparison, I'm gonna talk about something else too. I'm like, you would think that, I mean, these two devices, this is the only comparison I'm gonna make. These two devices have very similar qualities in the mids, right? Like the quality of the mids that this thing has, it has the same sound signature over here. But this device over here is a complete upgrade to everything that we have over here. Like I said that this thing has great mids, and you would think to yourself like, yeah, take this thing, add good bass to it, add good treble to it to make it like make the sound more balanced, make it better in all areas, make it more competitive sound in everything and not lacking in anything. And you would get something like this. It even has better technical performance, better staging, better details, but somehow this thing is a completely different sound. It's not a completely different sound. You can hear the same mids, but adding those things that this thing is lacking is making it becoming a different sound. And I love this thing and I use it a lot of times, but it hasn't replaced that thing over here. This thing still has its own place in my rotation. Although this is a very good sound and comparable competitive sound, but this thing over here is not replaced by it. So this still stays relevant. And that kind of is what like inspired me to title this video like sometimes less is more. Yeah, this is giving you less technically, logically. You compare this to a lot of things. It's just always down in performance, especially. It's always down. In bass and treble, in everything other than mids, it's always worse than everything else. And even in mids, like a lot of other devices have great mids too, but the combination of the mids that you get with like the everything tucked back and everything is serving its purpose to give you a sound that is good in one thing and one thing only, and that thing is achieved and it's done beautifully. And for that, I mean, it's unrivaled. Like, how am I going to compare this thing? Yeah, everything else is better, but almost everything else is better. I mean, I'm talking about like other good devices. Of course, this thing is better than a lot of other like non-comparable sounds of like these fake weak earbuds that are very cheap and try to copy the design and these things. But still, sometimes less is more, right? Everything is technically less, but it has everything being less. It's enjoyable and it's serving a purpose to give you a specific sound that is very enjoyable and it's very comparable and it's a good sound. And yeah, I think I would like to wrap up this review over here, and I would like to hear your ideas. Like, I would like to see like if you will even agree with me, if you think this is a good sound, or maybe you don't even agree with me. You think this is bad sound, and you have your reasons. You don't even and you haven't even, if you haven't like heard this in a long time or you haven't given it much thoughts, yeah, just try to pop it in your ear and give it a listen and try to actually look at it as a serious device and compare it to everything else you have. I think you would be surprised as if this thing is like it's knowingly giving you a lot to think about. That's what I was thinking when I was listening to it, like as a serious device. I was like annoyed that yeah, it is competing. Like, but why is it competing? It's less. It's not better, but it's still good. And yeah, I would like to hear what you think. If you have any questions, if you have your any opinions, please let me know. Put it in the comments. I would love to hear it, especially in this video. As I said, it's more of a discussion. And I don't think there's anything else to talk about over here. So, sorry. So take care, goodbye, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.